that will up my sharing screen. So meeting will be recorded. And yeah, I think that's all. Please mute yourself. If you forget and something happens, we will help you remember, or we will just kindly mute you. We will not do the thing where we mute you while you're talking because you're taking too long or something, like it's the Oscars. But if you forget and have some chatter in the background, we'll mute you.
And real quickly, these meeting recordings live on our YouTube, and the meeting notes live publicly on our website, which we do include attendees on the meeting notes. So if you would not like your name or information shared, please message me privately and I'll make sure that your name is redacted. Just letting everybody know that these notes are going to be public facing.
Thank you, Bryn. Okay, great. Well, we will begin. Oh, yes, we will begin now. So welcome. Super glad to have everyone here to our first FPAC general meeting of the season. We realize that FPAC runs on almost an academic calendar, which maybe harkens back to when we were under Tulane, who knows? Quick note, I have a terrible cough that I can't seem to kick. So if I go off screen real quick and mute myself, it means that I am having a situation and Bryn will take over. But if you'll introduce yourself and a memory from the summer in the chat. Again, Bryn is monitoring the chat. We love an active chat. This is where we'll be dropping links and more information. So we'll get going. All right, so first up, FPAC updates. We had a couple of city policies that happened this summer. The one that's sort of more FPAC specific is that we were reauthorized again as the official advisory body to the city of New Orleans. So super excited about that. That was spearheaded by Councilmember Moreno, and it was passed unanimously. So thrilled to have that. What that allows us to do is really speak to them with some authority, and it also allows for it strengthens the relationship where if they have a question about food access or food security or anything like that, they reach out to us. So we are really excited to have been reauthorized. It is a 2-year, or no, it's a 1-year authorization. We're trying to get it to a 2-year authorization. So every summer we work on getting it reauthorized. Thus far, we have had no problems. So thrilled that we were reauthorized again this year. Okay, sorry. All right, this is where it's going to get weedy, if you will. So as you all likely know, we are in what we call Farm Bill season. In the Farm Bill, just super quick refresher, Farm Bill is an omnibus bill that is reauthorized every 5 years, basically governs and pays for the majority of our food system. It's one of the largest spending bills that the federal government has. It expires in 16 days. So yeah, it expires in 16 days. There is no drafts out. So it is looking like there will be what they call a continuing resolution. Okay, sorry. There will be a continuing resolution, which will help to keep the mandatory funding things funded. So that includes things like SNAP. It includes a bunch of agriculture stuff. We have a link that we'll be dropping that shows you what is funded during a continuing resolution and what is left out during a continuing resolution. So there are in this Farm Bill over 690 marker bills. Marker bills are things that they're standalone legislation that's put forward that isn't actually meant to be its own legislation. It is meant to garner support and get people excited about the ideas, and then it will be hopefully included in the Farm Bill. All the people that I've been talking to who've been doing Farm Bill for a very long time have said this is the most marker bills they've ever seen. Side note, Cory Booker has probably 200 of them. But there's so many marker bills, it's been really hard to keep track, which means that this is a very sort of active farm bill, if you will. As some of you may know, there is likely a government shutdown coming, and that will be, I think, October 1st. They are in negotiations. From what we've heard, it is not likely that they will be able to avert a shutdown. Looks like there will be some sort of shutdown, don't know how long. And that is impacting the timing of the farm bill, because the energy they should be spending on the farm bill negotiations, they are working on this government shutdown negotiations, which, is all about spending. And so similarly with spending, they are, where we are right now is there are the budgets for the farm bill. There's a House budget and a Senate budget. Neither of them have been, it's the appropriations for the farm bill. Neither of them have been approved yet. The House budget is very much in play right now. Their draft budget, which we have seen, cut a ton of stuff. It brought basically everything back to like 2016 levels. Like everything, SNAP funding, everything, brought it way back. And how they were pitching that is they were righting the ship post COVID. Unfortunately, they could not even get that approved because some folks in the House wanted even deeper cuts. So, and the Senate, there are cuts in the Senate is what we're hearing, but they're not nearly as deep as in the House. So the two budgets are vastly different. And so not only do they have to each of them have to approve it in their own sort of houses, and then they have to come to an agreement of what that's going to look like. So the budget negotiations are tense right now, and ongoing. There should be a draft of the farm bill. I mean, we've been hearing all summer, draft is coming, draft is coming. Our most recent, what we've recently heard, like in the last week or so, is that we're not looking at a draft until October at the soonest, potentially November. And just as a reminder, each House of Government comes up with their own draft, then they get those approved within there. Then they have to work together to come up with something. And so when these first drafts come out, that is not anywhere near the end of the process. We're also hearing that one of the reasons the drafts are taking so long to come out, and this gets like really tedious, is that they want to schedule what they call floor time when the drafts come out. And what that means for advocates is that the time to read through, advocate, garner support, talk to your policymakers is shortened. It means that by the time they release it, they've already got a date to vote on it. So there's not a lot of time for us to act within that. So as soon as a draft comes out, we will let everyone know, and we will sort of begin the deeper advocacy about what it looks like. Right now, it's the time to advocate for marker bill inclusion. And we are about to go over some of the agriculture and nutrition marker bills that we think are of interest to FPAC members. Again, there are 690 plus marker bills in play, so it's impossible to go over them all. It's impossible even for us to know them all. There are quite a few that are similar. There's probably like 5 for universal school meals. There's a lot for SNAP improvements. There's a few for GusNIP. So they're not each like something completely different, but they are nuanced, each of them. And then if you want to learn more about the Farm Bill, I've been doing very broad strokes about how much it is, how it's passed, that sort of thing. We have 2 very in-depth webinars. One is Farm Bill 101 agriculture focused. One is Farm Bill 101 nutrition focused. And they are in our Farm Bill series on our YouTube channel. And so we'll drop that link in the chat as well. Does anybody have any questions about just the like farm bill in general? We're going to get into marker bills next. Okay, well, let's get right into it. I'm going to pass this to Devin, who's been spearheading our agriculture farm bill work.
Hi. Oh, great. Thanks, Brenna. I was actually just going to put that. So Bryn just dropped an agriculture specific bill tracker into the chat that is done by Rafi. It's pretty good, really useful. It only has, I think, 40. Yeah, it has 46 marker bills on there. So obviously there are a ton more, but these are ones that obviously are aligned with Rafi's priorities that tend to overlap fairly significantly with priority, or what I would expect the priorities of folks in this group would also be. So just to highlight a few of them, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on these top 4. These are more specifically oriented around what I think the concerns of folks in this group might be, particularly in terms of urban stuff. So the first one is supporting Urban Agriculture Act, FPAC and Sprout, as well as the Alliance for Affordable Energy. Recently made an ask to Senator Cassidy to support this. It's not necessarily a marker bill. It's more of an addressing the defunding of the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production that was proposed in the those appropriations bill from the House and the Senate. The House completely cut it. I think the Senate did as well. So there's some definite attacks to urban agriculture and funding that is happening there. Just kind of like an important framework note, I guess, is that urban agriculture and innovative production are really important ways that folks within our community, but also nationally, are coming into agriculture, specifically among communities that have been historically marginalized, left out, systematically excluded. So this is a way that specifically Black producers in our community are coming into agriculture after having been completely left out, again, marginalized. So I think that's really important to note. So supporting Urban Agriculture Act, the Agrivoltaics Research and Demonstration Act, we also asked Senator Cassidy to co-sponsor this one. This is more of a rural facing bill, but this is a bill that supports the development of supports the development of solar on farms. So this presents an opportunity for producers to cut their energy costs, build the resiliency of our farm system and our electricity grid in general, and also increase revenue on farm. And that kind of diversification of revenue streams is something that we know is really important for small scale producers in particular. Third one, Justice for Black Farmers Act. This is kind of what I'm thinking of as like a flagship marker bill. So most of these marker bills are maybe a couple of pages long. The Justice for Black Farmers Act, as well as the Agricultural Resilience Act, those ones are significantly longer and they hold a lot. So the Justice for Black Farmers Act, again, introduced by Senator Booker, who's really leading on trying to make sure that racial justice is a focal point of this year's Farm Bill reauthorization. Includes a ton of stuff about what racial equity and justice for Black farmers in particular should look like within Farm Bill, and rectifying USDA's long, very historically documented legacy of racial discrimination in particular. The Agricultural Resilience Act, similar to the Justice for Black Farmers Act, also what I think of as a flagship marker bill specifically for climate. Climate has historically been excluded from the Farm Bill almost completely, like not included really at all. So there's a ton of push happening specifically at the national level, but also kind of trickling down into local advocacy to make this Farm Bill a transformative Farm Bill in terms of racial equity, but also in terms of climate inclusion. A lot of that is coming down through conservation programs and making sure that there are buckets of money within conservation programs to support climate resilience efforts, bolster up those efforts, and dedicate money to climate. So a lot of that is couched within the Agricultural Resilience Act. I think that there's a ton of marker bills that also deal with climate, but this one kind of consolidates a lot of them, and there has been a ton of effort put into making sure that this is like front and center. Like in March, there was a national march that brought people from all around the country to it. There are folks from Louisiana that actually participated in that. And then these other ones, I'll go through these a little bit quicker, but these are some that have come up that we know are related to the priorities of Louisiana farmers based on work that we've been doing to connect with producers around the state. So Seeds and Breeds for the Future Act, this one supports the reestablishment of seed breeding programs and research programs so that we have acclimatized seed that is resilient, et cetera. So with climate pressures, we need to have acclimatized seed and the additional disease pressures there. We in the South have a distinct lack of access to seeds that are acclimatized to our region broadly, but also specifically to this particular microclimate in South Louisiana. This is a huge problem for our metro area, and it doesn't work for farmers to be bringing in seeds from the Northeast, from the upper Midwest. They just don't translate super well. It takes years for those seeds to get adapted, so we need support there. Increasing land access, Security and Opportunities Act, as well as the Farmland for Farmers Act. These both attempt to address what is a crisis in folks being able to access farmland. Corporations are buying up large swaths of farmland, making it inaccessible, either because it is simply not available or because it's too expensive for farmers. If we can't get small-scale producers onto land and having land tenure, we will not have small-scale farmers. So those both kind of address those things. And Strengthening Local Processing Act, we have a lot of meat producers here in Louisiana, or not a lot, but we have meat producers here in Louisiana, and they have to compete with large corporations for access to slaughter and processing facilities, and they get edged out oftentimes. So it hurts their ability to participate in the supply chain and get to market by not having access to local processing facilities. This act attempts to dedicate funds to increasing the access to or localization of slaughter and processing facilities. And Whole Farm Revenue Protection Program Improvement Act. Whole Farm Revenue Protection, WFRP, is crop insurance. So there's a couple different kinds of crop insurance that small scale producers are hypothetically supposed to be able to access. Our producers in Louisiana can't access really either of those. Whole Farm Revenue Protection is one that is supposed to be able to, instead of crop by crop insurance, which is historically how crop insurance has worked, it's supposed to protect your whole farm and focus on ensuring your revenue stream. Again, this has been completely inaccessible to Louisiana producers, so we need improvements. There have been some in the 2018 Farm Bill and kind of since then, but we need continued pushes to make this accessible to Louisiana producers. I will work on dropping some action alerts in there for folks to sign on to for these different bills. But yeah, that's the gist of it. If there's anything that I need to explain further, I apologize for talking super fast.
You are great. Thank you so much. And then Bryn also dropped FPAC and Sprout worked on a statewide listening session for Louisiana farmers, and we have an amazing report. So Bryn dropped that in too, that shows you the priorities of Louisiana farmers based on what we, and by we, I mean mostly Devin, heard in these listening sessions. Does anybody have any questions specifically about ag farm bill stuff? I know that was a lot. It's a lot. Okay, great. Did I miss anything in the chat? Are we good? Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about nutrition marker bills. I did not put as many in here, mostly because they are all very similar-ish, the ones that I've seen. And oh, I forgot to put one that we don't love. I'll try to remember what it is. So there, some of the marker bills, there's quite a few for universal school meals. That is a thing that states are doing, and we'll talk about something that happened in Louisiana. But they were hoping to pass something like this in the child nutrition reauthorization, which is supposed to be, again, reauthorized every 5 years. Every year, we think this is going to be the year for the CNR. We hoped that for this year. Unfortunately, again, since 2010, That was the last time it was reauthorized, unless I'm mistaken. It will not be reauthorized this year. So they're trying to put it into the Farm Bill. And the way they're doing that, because most childhood food and stuff is in the child nutrition reauthorization, is they are adding it in because of the one, food security, two, sort of the impact it has on local farms. So there's quite a few free school meal ones. The one that is sort of the like mega bill that encompasses a great many of the other markers is the Universal School Meals Program Act. And that one, I believe, expands the community eligibility and expands the, it just expands community eligibility to make all meals free for all school children. Then there is the Improving Access to Nutrition Act. That is a huge SNAP bill, or SNAP marker bill. And that, I don't have my notes right in front of me, but I am almost positive that that one changes it from the thrifty meal plan to the low cost meal plan on SNAP. And what that is how they look at how much each family gets for SNAP benefits. So they have a couple tiers, and the lowest is the thrifty food plan, and that's what they go by now to determine how many dollars a family will get. We are hoping, or this act is hoping to up it to the low cost food plan, which is just a little bit higher. It also increases the eligibility, takes out the time constraints. Let me let someone, oh no, sorry. For SNAP in there. Then there's the Closing the Meal Gap Act. And that is one that, again, is trying to increase SNAP benefits. There is the Expand Access to SNAP, also known as the EATS Act. That is trying to get college students more eligible for SNAP. Right now, it is very difficult for college students to be eligible for SNAP for a variety of reasons. One, work study doesn't seem to count as like your job because it is counted sort of as college time. Another thing is that you have to include your family's income on there, even if your family doesn't support you in college. And so this would help to alleviate all of those, because we know that student hunger is a very big problem and only getting larger. Then there's the Healthy Food Financing Initiative Reauthorization Act. And that is an expansion of what's called HFFI, the Healthy Food Financing Initiative. And that is, that's the sort of thing like the FFRI in New Orleans that helped to reopen a lot of grocery stores after Katrina, and also still helps to for retailers to increase their fresh food. So really it is low to no cost loans to retailers to want to open or to increase their fresh food offerings. And then there's the GUSNIP Expansion Act. GUSNIP is the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program. Locally, Market Umbrella operates that through the market match. So that's SNAP matching at farmers markets and grocery stores. And so that's a dollar for dollar match, usually of your SNAP benefits for fruits and vegetables. And so they want to expand upon that. It has been wildly successful. Studies have been done showing its efficacy. Now, I will say that all of these things are out there. The sort of word on the ground and the real dirt is that what we have heard is they are hoping for a do no harm farm bill. So as we talked about, the budgets are wildly different. While most of these are increasing SNAP, increasing school meals, increasing the availability of fresh, healthy foods, what we're hearing on the ground is that they're hoping just not to have cuts, unfortunately. We think there is some support for expansion, like the Universal School Meals does have decent support. GusNIP has some support behind it as well. But for SNAP, we are not, unfortunately, expected to see increases. We're really just like holding tight that they will not decrease it. But any of these that you support, now is the time to contact your representative or senator. I have added the bill numbers to here so that you can call and ask them to support. I can help you. Devin can help you. We can help you figure out what to ask them for the ag or nutrition if you want to support them to support it. But it can be as simple as calling, and a call is best, I think, and say, hi, I am Alyssa Munoz, New Orleans, and you give them your address and zip code, all of that, so that they know you're a constituent. You just say, I would like for, we'll say, Senator Cassidy to support the expanding access to SNAP. I'm just using an example, EATS Act, Senate 1448 in the next farm bill. We think it's really important for Louisiana and for my family. Easy as that. Because every time you call, they have to record it, and they have to write down or record any support, or they have to support or if you're against it. So all of these things have to be recorded, so it does not go in vain. Now, there is one that I don't have in front of me, but I will find it. But basically, it's a little bit controversial, but it is an act that is calling for a study of what SNAP recipients buy to see how much healthy food they're buying, or what they're buying in general. The reason that it is controversial is that, yes, we want to know what people are buying with their SNAP dollars. However, we can also see how looking at that may cause people to say, like, oh, it turns out they're buying more chips than we thought, and start restricting what's allowed to be bought with SNAP dollars. And we know a lot of the time, families buy what is available to them, not necessarily like what, they're not buying chips over broccoli, maybe because they would prefer chips over broccoli, although that's fine if they do, but because the chips are less expensive for more calories, the chips are more available, that sort of thing. So we see how this one could become something that is demonizing what SNAP recipients buy and lead to greater restrictions, which, is, affront to the dignity of people who are using this. I will try to include that in the notes that we send out. I apologize that I don't have it in here. Does anybody have any questions, or is there anything in the chat about these Farm Bill marker bills while I take a big swig of tea? Okay. If you have any questions on that, please reach out. My email is in the bottom of the slides. Okay, so moving statewide, more policy updates, school meals. In the Louisiana legislature this year, they did pass Louisiana Act 305, and that makes school lunch free for children who are eligible for reduced breakfast and lunch. I said school lunch. I meant, I should have just said school meals. Apologies. So basically, there is, you can fill out an application to be eligible for either free meals or reduced meals. Well, now anyone that is eligible for reduced meals, or what used to be reduced meals, will now get it for free, which is very exciting. It's like a step along the way to this universal school meals. And it's huge that Louisiana did this. It's going to cost the state $860,000 a year. They are just paying for that that little bit, that difference between reduced and free. As a note, community eligibility is not affected by this. So if you go, if a child goes to a school that has community eligibility, which means that a certain percentage of the school is eligible for your reduced lunch, so the whole school gets it, that is not affected by this. So all those schools will remain having free lunch. And as a reminder, this would mean that families who have income of 130 to 185% of the poverty level, who would normally have reduced lunch now get, or reduced meals now get free meals. And again, there's a national movement toward universal free lunch. We say free lunch because it's easier, but really it's school meals, to be clear, lunch and breakfast. Some snacks, some schools also provide take-home dinner for kids, or dinner at after-school programs. So when I say school lunch on these, I really mean meals. Apologies. If it is not passed in the Farm Bill, then we expect to see it again in the Louisiana legislative session in 2024 toward universal free, what they call universal free lunch, but universal free school meals. So that's a huge win for the state. Any questions, comments, anything going on in the chat about that? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, I could not get to mute in time. That's gross. All right. So that was the end of our policy updates. We have some city policy updates that we'll talk about a little further in our working groups. So now we're going to talk about programming, and I'm actually going to pass it to our partner at Xavier University, Megan Knapp.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. And I am excited that we are launching a food policy advocacy training program at Xavier. And we put out a call for interest and had over 30 students apply. So we're in the process of going through applications and reading resumes, and we're working on figuring out when people can meet and finalizing a cohort. So we're hoping to begin in late December. And actually, we have a student on here with us, Olivia Taylor. But what the goal of this is to get students comfortable advocating and giving them the tools, empowering them to take issues that are important to them in the food policy realm to policymakers, and training the next generation of advocates. So I'm excited about this. And yeah, if you have any further questions about it, please reach out. If you ever want to come in and talk to this group of students, please let me know. We'll be pulling in different guest speakers to talk about work in the policy arena, just to give students a taste of what's going on in Louisiana. So yeah, excited about it. And anything else did I miss, Alyssa?
No, we're doing this in partnership with FPAC, Xavier University, and then we are also partnering with the National Black Food and Justice Alliance. Dr. Jazz, who is a New Orleanian. I don't think she's in this meeting, but she's their co-executive director, and they are part of this as well. And the other thing is that we're super excited that we are able to pay students to participate in this. So they'll receive a stipend of $1,000 per semester. And that this was supported by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, both the ability to do the program and to pay the students. We're super excited. I'm also hoping that this will, for years, we've been trying to figure out how to get like a youth component into FPAC. And we're hoping that this will help us figure out what that could look like, because we know it's really important and that it's a voice we're missing. So hoping that this will help inform what that could look like. Also, just really excited to have new people coming in, excited about this. Yeah, this is, go ahead.
I'll add, like, reading students, like, why they were interested. It was so inspiring. And I don't know, I think we're going to have a great group of students. I mean, it's been, I'm reading, it was like, everybody's so fantastic. And this is, we've got so many great reasons for involvement and so many unique experiences. And yeah, I'm really excited to bring the group together. And I think we're going to have some great energy and yeah, great outcomes.
Yeah. And some of the things we're hoping to do is one, just like training sort of things. And then also like bringing them down to a council meeting, having them make public comment, that like really getting them involved and teaching them like the hands-on, like active advocacy work. So it's a very hopeful and exciting program. We were basically like 30 applicants. How can we figure out how we can have all 30 instead of the 10 that we have, you know, space for? So it's going to be a hard decision, but we're really excited. Thanks, Megan. And then another way that we're sort of growing the next gen, if you will, of healthy eaters and policy advocates is our farm to early care and education work. Haley is actually tabling at the Breda Farmers Market. So I am going to talk through this. But we have sort of two ways that we engage in farm to ECE work. One, we have a statewide working group. And that has people from, it has center directors, center leaders, Department of Ed, Department of Health, different folks in policy work and licensing, everybody within the ECE space from around the state. And so that we have a meeting October 10th. We just met this week. There is a strategic plan, which I believe Bryn just dropped in the chat, which is really exciting. It's sort of how we plan to move the farm to ECE movement throughout Louisiana in the next 2 years. And some of the things we're doing with that is there's the great, I'm calling it the great, I don't know if it's the great Satsuma Peel or the big Satsuma Peel, but there is the Satsuma Peel. And that is where we have children all peeling Satsumas. We tried to do the same day, but that's really hard with procurement. So we are doing the week of October 23rd. So watch your socials for some great pictures of like 3 to 5 year olds peeling Satsumas and eating them. So we're working on that right now, getting out stickers. We're hoping to be part of like trunk or treat celebrations. I mean, y'all, costumed kids eating Satsumas, I'm done for. If you know an ECE who might want to participate in the Great Satsuma Peel, please contact Haley. Her email is right there. Another thing we're doing is we're profiling successful, I say ECEs, I should define that. It's early child care education centers. It's centers who serve children ages 0 to 5. We mostly focus on the Head Start age, which is 3 to 5, but we've actually begun working in the early Head Start. So that's the 2 and 3 year olds. We've begun actually with our partners at the Children's Coalition have begun working in that space. And that's just even cuter and more amazing. But we're profiling successful ECEs in Louisiana quarterly. So right now we are working to do a profile on the Children's Coalition, which is in Northeast Louisiana. The next profile will probably be one of our ECE centers in New Orleans. And those we will be, you know, we want to highlight the great work they're doing. We also want to show some of the innovative ways that they are getting healthy food to children and procurement. And it will also go out to policymakers to show kind of some of the challenges and ways that we are making things work, because there are, you know, 2 main sectors involved with this, the food system and ECEs, and both of those are like really underfunded and are challenging. And then again, our 2023-2025 strategic plan is ready. We have a new Louisiana Farm to ECE logo that is so cute. That's part of the, you can see it on the strategic plan. For our New Orleans program, we're going to begin working on like in earnest on our local procurement, and we're partnering with Sprout on that. I think we're going to start with the Satsuma Peel. Statewide, we're doing more procurement as well. And we think the Satsuma Peel is a great way to begin those farmer ECE leads, because you know, it's a smaller event. It's relatively easy, and Satsumas we've heard are going to be abundant-ish this year. So we're super excited to get our local procurement going. And then we are happy to announce we will be adding another ECE center as part of our Catholic Charities centers that we're working with very soon. Does anybody have any farm to ECE questions? If you want to get involved with our statewide work, or you want to learn more about our local work, reach out to Haley. Her email is in the bottom of this slide. Okay, great. Apologies. Okay, So there is Louisiana. Oh my gosh, this meeting is really in depth. Okay, so Louisiana Small Scale Agriculture Coalition. That is a statewide organization that exists. You can read it, to strengthen capacity, resiliency, economic opportunities for small scale agriculture producers. FPAC is one of the founding members, along with BREDA, which is the Farmers Market Association or the Farmers Market Network in Baton Rouge, Louisiana Central, Shreveport Green, Acadiana Food Alliance, Market Umbrella, and Sprout. So there's a few things that are happening on that front. There is Louisiana Climate Rapid Response Mini Grants. This is specifically for growers who need funds to help mitigate the impacts of the heat, the drought, get climate ready, that sort of thing. we're going to drop the link to that in the chat if you know small scale growers in Louisiana, or if you are one, that you can pass this along to. And then also there will be a farmer climate gathering January 21st and 22nd. That is spearheaded by Sprout. So if that's something you are a farmer and you're interested in, reach out. Oh, I have Haley on this slide. It's not Haley, it's me. Reach out to me and I can connect you on that. I don't know if there are any other, we call it LSAC members in here. There's anything I missed, but I think that's probably good for now because we're short on time. Okay, now I'm going to pass it. Now we're talking working groups. We're still at program updates. I'm going to pass it to Bryn for Eat Local Committee update.
Sure. So next week we have our Garden to Glass event, which is something that we hold annually with the National World War II Museum and the American Sector Restaurant. We invite local distillers to create a cocktail and compete for best overall. The museum is open and it's in the big plain room. It's really fun. It's $25 for FPAC members to attend. Those ticketing sales will be closed tomorrow. So I invite anybody who has not, I urge you, if you haven't bought your tickets yet, to go ahead and get them. And then our next event after that will be a November 5th bike tour. We are moving one over to the weekend. It's going to be starting at the Tad Gormley Stadium, where the Crescent City Farmers Market is held on Sundays. So if you know of any areas around, we like to have kind of like a comprehensive tour of all sectors of the food system. So any small local food businesses, any local coffee shops around there, any additional markets or bars or restaurants or urban farms or fields or anything that we can tour around there. You can link up with me and we can talk about that being a stop on the bike tour. We also have a subcommittee that is meeting, that's kind of our logo and marketing team. So we'll be looking to unveil the new Eat Local logo at that November 5th bike tour. And if anybody wants to connect to the Eat Local group, our next meeting is September 8th. We have a standing meeting that's the last Monday of the month at 1 p.m. This is kind of like our marketing and events celebration of local food and drink group, if you would like to connect on that.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute. Thanks, Bryn. That's great. All right, so now we're going to go to working group updates. Is Eric at this meeting? I feel like he told us he couldn't come to the meeting.
I don't see it.
Okay. Great. Bryn, do you want to take this or do you want me to?
Sure. We're still meeting and working on revamping the pop-up permitting process. Eric and I spoke to Gambit, so be on the lookout for an article. We'll drop that. We're talking about the challenges folks are facing as small business owners and street vendors, and maybe solutions looking at other places, modeling, like what their what their state legislation looks like to try to work on a more streamlined process on pop-up permitting.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and one thing they're looking at is a new potential vendor. I can't think of the word, but where it's an emerging vendor license. So that doesn't quite fit, and they may be doing pop-ups, maybe doing all sorts of different things. And then Eric is connecting with the office of the Night Mayor, if you say that fast, it doesn't sound as nice, about focusing on equitable permitting versus necessarily like sweeps and enforcement, things like that. All right. So I'm going to talk about seafood. That group met yesterday. It meets again in October. It's like one of our newest working groups. But their priorities for this year and the things they're working on are what they call AOC. No, we're not talking about the AOC. We're talking about alternative oyster culture and its impact, how to encourage alternative oyster culture and its impact on the food system. They are also going to be focused on local seafood promotion and recognition, especially in restaurants. So working with Audubon Gulf, who is has like a restaurant recognition system on how we can be part of that and how we can help to highlight restaurants who are sourcing local seafood. And that is going to dovetail in with the Eat Local committee a bit, which we're excited about. And then they're also really focused on working on coastal restoration advocacy. The land loss and water intrusion is really impacting our seafood industry. So while it may not seem like a natural fit of coastal restoration and seafood industry, it actually is very important. They're also looking for new members. It's a superstar group, but always looking for more folks. So if you do anything with seafood, with fisheries, with coastal restoration, if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out to Bryn or Marianne about that. It's a really impressive new group that we've pulled together. For so long, we had put seafood in with food production. We realized that the issues are so different that it really needs to be pulled out. And luckily, Marianne, who's like a seafood, nationally recognized seafood policy person, is with the group and is spearheading that. Great. Food access and education. Because Haley is in Baton Rouge, I'm also going to take that one. This one really, it's a Farm Bill waiting game. Super excited about the things that passed in Louisiana legislation. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. In the session, what passed in the session, like Act 305, but now really waiting to see what's going to come out in Farm Bill drafts and really looking at the budget, because SNAP is 78% of what is funded in the Farm Bill budget. So it is huge, like billions with a B, huge. We are also looking at, so there was an announcement made recently. I don't think Jeannie was able to make it to this meeting, no. But the city did fund their food security. They had $1 million from ARPA funds that went to granting organizations. And so those grants were made to Market Umbrella to do market match at a more retail location, Top Box Foods to create like healthy diet specific boxes, I believe, Sankofa for their Fresh Stop Market, and Second Harvest. I can't remember what exactly Second Harvest was, but those 4 organizations were funded through the health department. And so we're just looking at how FPAC can help sort of make connections and network amongst those groups and make sure that that those programs are included as like part of the larger food system, if that makes sense. There's also potentially a SNAP committee coming soon. And I think that Haley and Casey are working on that. So if you're interested in our food access and education working group, then please let me know. That really deals with, SNAP, school food, like hunger, campus hunger, all sorts of things. Or please let Haley know. Her email is on this slide. Any questions about that? Okay. Food production. I'm going to pass it to Bryn or Devin to talk through this.
I can do it.
Great.
Yeah. So, where should I start, Alyssa? Sorry.
No.
We haven't met since the resolution passed over the summer.
Yes. So we passed a resolution. that recognizes Agno, which we're super excited about. And then I don't know if you just want to do like a very brief, like here are our planks and here's where we are on the, like, don't explain the planks, but just like, here's where we're moving forward in a couple areas.
Sure, can do. Yeah, so we have 4 planks. Our first plank is land access, so trying to improve the Growing Green program for all producers to be able to access land within our city equitably and easily. We are trying to work with NORA to make updates to, or they're working on updates to that program, and we're trying to have as much participation as they will let us have on that. So we're working on that currently. If anybody has connections to NORA, feel free to get in touch with me. Would love to talk with you about that. Second, we're working on water access. So there's agricultural water meters or irrigation only meters, working on developing a how-to guide to make sure that producers know what that process can look like. And also we are going to have Sewage and Water Board has agreed to sign off on that how-to guide. And so saying, yes, this is accurate. And we agree that we will follow these guidelines. So making sure that they do their part and we are doing our part, and making sure producers know that process or those processes for how to get those meters. Third is blight. So we have a meeting next week with code enforcement to talk about potentially getting an exemption within their kind of blight policy to allow for regenerative agricultural practices that don't look like a typical landscaped lawn. So we're working on that in that way. And then the last one is an urban ag liaison position. We're working with the Office of Resilience and Sustainability to try and get that position seated within that department. It is budgeting season right now, so we've got some we're working on trying to get the mayor on board, working on trying to get all the pieces aligned to have this position hopefully be funded within the city consistently for the long term, because we know its success really hinges on not being grant funded, but being just a regular position within the city. And that is everything. Quickly.
Thank you. Yes, we do want it to be a regular position. And they, ORS has put it in their budget. We, like Devin said, are going to be advocating within city council and hopefully within the mayor's office to make sure that that budget ask is approved. We also know that the city has a surplus somehow this year. And so we are hoping that they will use a tiny bit of that for this really important position. So if you're talking to council members or the mayor, please ask them to support this position through ORS. Okay. All right. Last working group is our climate and disaster working group. We should say disaster preparedness. But the next meeting is September 28th, so 2 weeks from today. Okay, here's my ask to you all. I need for, actually, I think most people in this have already filled it out. We need this coalition resource survey filled out by more groups. This resource survey, so when a disaster strikes, what we have found through like our data, like research and just from talking to each other, is that everybody is texting each other, calling each other, trying to figure out who has trucks, who has refrigerated space, who has solar panels, who buys food, who has extra food, who will take donated prepared meals, all of that sort of stuff. And so what we are doing with this survey is we are trying to compile all of that data up front. And we know that it will change, but this is just like what your organization anticipates, so that we can have this in a live document that will live on FPAC's website. And to be clear, your organization can opt out of having it publicly listed if you want. But so that when something happens, we know who to call. We can like make that phone tree more quickly and more easily. So it's really important that we get this survey filled out. So I'm asking you, if your organization hasn't filled it out, to do it right now. We have a little bit of time. And then also we are still collecting we have 2 surveys. The most important is the Coalition Resource Survey. We have another survey, we're calling it Organizational Readiness. This is to find out which organizations have disaster plans in their like HR, who sort of deploys, who keeps staff in town, who has programs that they either stop or start up when a disaster hits. And when do you begin that? What's your designation? Is it when a storm is named? Is it when it hits? That sort of thing. And so that's for the sort of New Orleans food system. And then we're also doing this research project on DSNAP, trying to figure out what are the challenges to getting DSNAP. And we're asking DSNAP users. So we have this survey out there. I will say that we're also tabling at farmers markets and doing listening sessions around the state around DSNAP. One note with DSNAP is that we went to the website yesterday, and while 2 weeks ago is the soonest we at least remember, you could pre-register for DSNAP, you no longer can on the website. We are trying to figure out if they're no longer doing that or if the website is down. We have gotten conflicting information. But we will pass that along to you just as soon as we find out about that. Everyone we talked to at DCFS wasn't sure of the answer, wasn't sure why the website was down. And so 1, if anybody on this call has any information around that, please let me know. 2, if anybody, if you are working with anyone who's trying to pre-register for DSNAP, we will let you know as soon as we find out. And oh, it looks like I have the wrong meeting date potentially on one of these slides. I apologize. I was making these fast and furious. Does anybody have any questions about our climate and disaster working group? If you're interested in joining that group, please let us know. And then community announcements. We are right at time. So if you have to go, we understand. Thank you so much for coming. If you don't have to go and have an announcement, these can be programs you're working on. Are you like, if you have any jobs that you want to get out there in the food system, any announcements, anything like that, this is sort of your time to share. Or if you have any questions. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Hey, so I just wanted to mention that we are doing our session of BFRD this season is just starting up. It started off with the urban ag cohort that Sprout is managing over at Press Street Gardens, and our next event at Recirculating Farms is going to be September 29th from 10:30 to 3:30 on our farm. Snacks and lunch and everything will be provided, and it'll be kind of a how-to guide to get started on, you know, the basics of starting a farm, how to get a 501(c), how to incorporate all those types of things, how to get land, all the way through how to build a raised bed, and like what type of farm do you want to start? Do you want to do a community garden, a market garden, commercial operation, that type of thing? So please share with your people and come if you want to.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll
I
make
think
a-
that's on the Sprout community calendar, which I'll drop the link to that in the chat. Please go right ahead.
Real quick, I always have students that are approaching me looking for internship opportunities. So if you have anything, and please send it my way, and I'd be happy to pass it on to our internship coordinator for students to apply. So our public health students are required to do a 400-hour practicum. So if anybody needs help and has a good opportunity for students, let me know.
And I can vouch, we've hosted a few and top notch. Anyone else have any announcements, shout outs, anything? Okay, our next meeting is in November. Let me see. I think it's on It is November 9th. It's actually on the community calendar, which I just shared. That's how I found it. November 9th, that's the second Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. Okay, great. Well, we are going to send out notes. This will be on our YouTube channel and available for everyone to see. And thank you so much. This was a really intense policy meeting. So I appreciate y'all sticking in there with us.